Recording in progress.
Hi, Sharon from Australia. Hi, ladies on Zoom. Tell me where.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good
I'm coming
morning.
in just to say good morning. If you can believe this, I just wanted to say that we're going to be learning this in the zechus of bringing Aryeh ben Ronen Shirley to Kfura in Eretz Yisrael as soon as possible. They are starting Be'ezrat Hashem now, what they need, the next process, so that Be'ezrat Hashem should be a big zechus. And I thought after we get to the Kfura, then you can share that video. It was so special. I felt that you were there with me, Rebbetzin Silva, because I actually felt that I asked Rebbetzin Silva to do, and in her zechus, they got this whole thing moving. I said, oh my gosh, look at that. It's amazing. And we're doing it this morning in Emmanuel College High School. For the staff here, for the teachers, have got a special inset day. So I am doing a chalamek. I'll just close the door so we don't keep the people cold here. I've got two gorgeous young ladies helping me, and I'm doing a chalamek here for all the staff. So you can see what we're going to. There we go.
Wow.
And we'll be having you with our learning. So thank you. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I will see you this coming week. I'll speak to you later to make a time. I'm going to come and visit you this week.
Oh, you're
I'm
coming?
coming.
Oh.
I'm coming.
Oh.
Go on.
So
Tonight
listen.
on Zoom. Are you doing tonight what on Zoom? Can you do that on Zoom? I'm not doing. I'll make from 7 till 8. On Zoom, and then 8:30. Well, 8:30. Hashem, we're just going to be changing the world today and adding goodness, simcha, bracha for all of Klal Yisrael. And now, Dals, you can mute me, but I'm going to have you with me.
Okay, 1 second. Rabbi Sindov, they were successful. The process is happening?
Yes.
So when is the Kfura going to be? Do you know?
It's happening now.
The Kfura here now?
We don't know anything because it will all depend now. They want to bring the Kfura for Eretz Yisrael. They've got a place in Har Menuchos, but his grandfather was just buried 2 weeks ago in Sanhedria.
But is the mace on the plane already? No.
We wait. This 10 to 11 is absolutely crucial. This is the most important part now. They've just started the process, and this is the crucial.
Okay. You froze. Did I freeze?
On my side, you froze, but it could be that I'm in a signal of a school, so it's a bad signal. But did you get what I said?
I think I got what you said,
okay. So now from 10 to 11 is this crucial part for the Totzaot to give Zchut Kadima. That's what we're waiting for.
Okay, that's what
okay.
It'll happen. Is the mother coming here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you'll be in touch with me.
They want to get back for Shabbos. So Hashem.
Okay.
There's a 3 a.m. flight on a Thursday night. So if it works the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to, they'll get their Kfura back to the airport, but I'll let you know.
Okay, let me know. Maybe Hashem wants them to stay here in Eretz Yisrael for Shabbos. Okay.
Yeah, I said that would be the best matana.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So now did we finish Perek Vav? Masha, sorry, did we finish Perek Vav? Oh, you muted me. Okay. Did we finish Perek Vav? I said I want to go over it again. Is that true? Where are we up to?
We didn't finish. I'm just looking where we're up to. We did Vav last. Well, we started Vav.
Pasuk Vav. Pasuk, Perek Vav, Pasuk Vav?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It was Perek Vav, Pasuk Vav,
Yeah.
and you were going to go over Pasuk Vav.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and for those people who didn't understand the conversation that I just had with Rabbi Sindov, so there was a very sad tragedy in her community, and a young man died in his sleep, and they wanted to bring him to Eretz Yisrael for kavura, to bury, and because he passed away in his sleep, so they were having a hard time releasing the body, and so Rabbi Sindov told the mother of the boy to try to get to the Yanuka. First, she called me and asked me to try to get to the Rav, and then all of a sudden she sent me a video that someone was able to get into the Rav. Someone was already there in the shul, and the Rav was there, and he told the Rav the whole story, and the Rav gave a very strong bracha. So let's see. This seems to be working. Bezrat Hashem. Okay. Remember that we said that Perek Vav is the Perek that you say if someone is sick, chapter 6 in Tehillim, Perek Vav, chapter 6, that you say that if somebody is sick, if somebody is in trouble, you say chapter 6, and if somebody on any level needs quick intervention, and so we were up to Pasuk Vav. And I'll say it again, Pasuk Vav. So chapter 6, verse 6. You know that, I know. You know that everything that everything that we read in Tehillim, David HaMelech went through. It's not like King David actually experienced all the suffering that he spoke about. And it's so hard for us to understand that. How could a tzaddik like King David, a tzaddik, a righteous person, a king, who was created to serve the Jewish people, and his entire entity was for the Jewish people, and every breath that he took was for Hashem and the Jewish people. And how could anybody cause him problems? How could anybody not understand that he was totally devoted to God and to the Jewish people? He didn't have a private life, and even though he did fulfill the mitzvah of having children, and he had wives, and he had he had a government, and he had a malchus, a kingship, but his whole entire essence was only God and the Jewish people. That's all he wanted, and he went through so many sufferings, and that's why you should know something. If you're the Yanuka, the tzaddik says, if you're going through suffering, he sent this out a few times over the years. If a person's going through suffering, so we who were educated, sadly, in a certain level of Shir Tamar Ben Shana Dvar Refuah Shlema. Okay, everybody who needs Refuah Shlema should have Refuah Shlema. Also, I want to say it for Rabbi Rav. No, what's his name? Okay, whatever. It'll come to me soon. Anybody who needs Refuah Shlema, I have a whole list of Refuah Shlema people in Hashem.
Tchaikovsky?
Yeah, Rabbi Tchaikovsky. Everybody who needs Refuah Shlema on my list and on your list, Hashem should send a Refuah Shlema to all the Jewish people, the whole Jewish people, individually. Everybody has something going on. Everybody has something going on. And even if we ourselves, are healthy, Baruch Hashem, we're helping other people who are not, or we're serving other people. So Hashem should just help the Jewish people. Bezrat Hashem. Really, really, Tatza, we need help. So, could you imagine David HaMelech went through? And so the Rav says like this. He says, when you're going through something, don't think of it as a punishment. We do. Oftentimes we were educated from the post World War II. Many of our teachers were, I know mine were, post World War II teachers. And they had gone through the Holocaust, and they had gone through World War II, and they were old when they taught me, but they were the teachers that we had, and somehow they were still in the place of dinim, of of trying to say that everything is din, everything is judgment, and everything is harsh, and everything is punishment. But the Yanuka says no. He says if you're going through something, think of it as Hashem allowed you to give him a korban. Hashem lakach mimcha korban. Hashem took from you, is taking from you an offering, a korban. We have to understand in our brains, we don't understand how Hashem makes this world run. We don't know what means the Beit HaMikdash, the temple. We don't know what means the korbanot, the offerings. We don't know what any of those things mean. But Hashem, but the tzaddikim do. And so when the Rab says, a tzaddik says to you, if you're going through something, don't beat yourself up. Of course it's good to do teshuvah. The Gemara says, if you're going through something, look and see, how can I be better? How can I do tshuva? How can I improve my mitzvot? What can I do to be better? But don't bang yourself over the head and think, I'm no good, Hashem is punishing me. It's not like that at all. That's what he says. If I would say to you, you could ignore me. But because a tzaddik of this generation, a live tzaddik in this generation is telling us this, that means that that's the truth. And Hashem is receiving from us. He's taking from us a present, a gift. And how is it that suffering is a gift to God? That I can't explain to you. But the Ramchal says that the three ways that a Jew can upgrade their spirituality, the three ways that a Jew fixes their soul is, the first way is to perform a mitzvah. The second way is to do teshuvah if you didn't perform a mitzvah, or if you did the opposite of a mitzvah. And the third way is to go through suffering and accept the suffering and say, Hashem, I don't understand this, but I'm accepting it from you. I know that you know better than me. And this is hard for me to go through. It's very hard. But I have to trust you and love you and just accept it. Be'ahava. So when we can do that, that's like as if we fulfill the mitzvah. And it's also as if we just did shuvah on anything and everything that we don't even remember we did stuff on. So here's what David HaMelech says. Ki ein b'mavet zichrecha. If I die, who's going to teach about you? Who's going to sing about you? Who's going to love you the way I love you? And remember, I told you that story last week about Chazan, about the tzaddik who wanted to live because he was the best Baal Tefillah. He was the best Chazan and Shul. He was able to inspire people. So each and every one of us, I know you have to believe me, and I have to believe me, that each and every one of us has something to contribute to planet Earth that nobody in planet Earth can do. And so if I leave this world, if a person, David HaMelech says, if he dies, then who's going to do his job? Who's going to mention God in the way that he can mention God? Who's going to sing to God? Who's going to make up Tehillim? Who's going to live through his daily life? If he dies, Bish'ol miyodelach. And if a person goes to Sheol is the grave, the death, the lowest parts. If a person's buried, then how can he say thank you to Hashem? Yodeh, like the word modeh ani lefanechem, modim anachnu lach, the same root. It means to be thankful, to be grateful, like the sphere of Hod. So this is a very powerful pasuk to say. It says, first of all, it says, I believe that I am unique and that my service of God is unique. You know why? You might say, well, my service of God is like everybody else. Like I say the brachot, I keep Shabbat, I keep kosher, I do all the things, I do all the mitzvah, right? You might say, I'm like everybody else. The answer is you're totally not, because you're living in the UK and I'm living here in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, Baruch Hashem. Or you're living in Beit Shemesh, or you're living in Australia, or you're living in Africa, or New Zealand, or wherever. And your life is different than my life. So when you say the bracha, Shakol Niyah Bidvaro, it's a different bracha than I'm saying, with a different intention and a different giving up, you're surrendering to Hashem. So Ki ein b'mavet zichrecha, Hashem, keep us alive, because if we don't live, there's nobody who can live like me. And again, that David HaMelech is telling us something that when I read these psukim, it hurts me to that David HaMelech had to go through this. Yagati ba'anchati, I'm so tired by all my sufferings. Yagati means yigia. Yigia means exhaustion. It means worn out. Anacha means a sigh. Oh, a kvetch, a sigh. I'm so tired from going through what I'm going through and sighing and crying and davening and hoping against hope. I'm so tired of that, says King David. I know this is a hard one. We'll have to, we're going through the hard ones in the beginning of the Tehillim. It's hard. But you're allowed to say that it's so cold over there that you're wearing such a thick sweater, Masha Sarah. Yeah? Here we're having a interesting, last week it was cold, and I took out the radiators, and this week it's hot, and it's supposed to get even warmer. We're having like a cute little interim before the winter. But I see that you're all covered up and cold there. Yagati Vanchati, I'm too tired already. I'm exhausted from all of this exile. I'm exhausted from the exile. Now, this is a hard thing because David HaMelech was telling us now that he actually used to cry at night. I'm making my bed drenched every single night. B'dimati arsi amseh, and my tears are making my bed drenched with tears. Chazal tell us that David HaMelech was saying one time he was sick, and there's an opinion that he was sick for many months, for a very long time he was sick, and he was feverish, and he was every night. You know how it is when you have fever and you sweat? Nowadays we know that sweating is good for you, and if you have fever, you're supposed to sweat. If you have fever, don't unless a person's fever is very, very high. But if a person has temperature, fever, they get under the covers and schwitz and schwitz. It's good to sweat because the sweat is naturally taking down the fever in your body and also taking out all the toxins and whatever it is that we need to have removed from our body. But every night, David HaMelech, I'm crying and I'm sweating, and I went through so much, because of all that he went through. Now, the Yalkut, the Medrash tells us that David HaMelech had a very difficult bunch of years in his life, a very difficult set of years. It's a question of how many years he had in his life, because remember that he died at age 70, very young, and he started at age 18. So that means he had 52 active years where he was, because he was crowned king in secret at age 18. That's when he wrote his first Tehillim, according to the commentaries. Some say he was 28, which means his reign was even shorter. But he went through many years of feeling that his Ruach HaKodesh had departed. And he still sang Tehillim. And so he cried every single night for Hashem to come back to him. I remember speaking to once a big tzadikah, and she said that she went through many, first she said months, then she said years of feeling that Hashem was distant from her. Now she was a tzaddikas, she's in the next world already. She was such a holy woman, and she was married to a big mefursam, a big famous admor, a rebbe, a tzaddik. But she said she had years. First she had months, and she thought she had years and years of feeling like, Hashem, where are you? And she felt she had to work so hard to feel inspired. So if that's you, and you're going through a hard time, so understand that you're not bad. You're on the same level as David HaMelech. You're on the same level as many tzaddikim. Look at Yaakov Avinu in the 22 years that he didn't see Yosef at Tzaddik, right? He also lost his Ruach HaKodesh. Yaakov Avinu. We can't even imagine. If we would see Yaakov Avinu, we would think he's God. So holy was he. We can't imagine the biblical, our avot and our imahot, our ancestors. We can't understand, we can't imagine the greatness of these people. But he suffered also. He felt Hashem wasn't with him for all those years. So don't feel bad if you feel Hashem isn't with you. Don't feel bad if you're in a yirida, if you're having a hard time. It means that you're giving Hashem something, and only Hashem knows how to measure that. And you're in the same level as David HaMelech and all of them, Yosef Tzaddik, Yaakov Avinu, all of them. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. They knew how to make people think that they were okay. In other words, they didn't complain in public. They didn't walk around with a low face, and people would say, "Oh, are you okay? What's wrong?" They kept going. That nobody knew how they felt inside. No one knew. Only tzaddikim know how to do that. That people they keep going, and they keep servicing the world and praying, but they sometimes feel like Perak Yud Gimel, when we're going to get to it. Ad ana tishkacheni, how long are you going to forget me, Hashem? That's how David HaMelech felt. And he said every day. So now the Medrash tells us also that at night when he would say, when he would pray at night, it's a big inyan. It's a very big thing to pray at night. Our schedules are completely messed up, meaning the all-time schedules of how farmers used to live. How did people used to live before electricity? When the lights went out, in other words, when the sun went down, they would go to sleep, right? And then they would get up in the middle of the night, before sunrise, before dawn. Nowadays, we're all, and so they would get up early in the morning, before dawn. I know my father, should rest in peace, he even had such a practice. And even though, of course, we had electricity, I'm not that old, but still, he would get up early, and he'd get up, go to sleep late, go to sleep early, get up early. That's how we were raised. And so Chazal tell us, and the Tzaddikim tell us, Ariya Kadosh tells us, that the time between midnight and dawn is such an important time to be able to wake up and pray and daven and learn. And here they have something called Kol El Chatzot. I don't know if you have it in Chutz La'aretz. Kol El Chatzot means, what means Kol El? Kol El means when a man goes to shul, when a man goes to Beit Medrash, to yeshiva, and he learns. And he joins us. He's enrolled in a yeshiva, in a school for higher learning Torah, and they learn. So there's usually kollel. There's morning kollel, and then afternoon kollel, and evening kollel, and then there's kollel chatzot. So we have Torah going 24 hours around the clock here in Eretz Yisrael. Morning kollel is usually from 9 to 1. And so the men who are in morning kollel, they get the kids off to school, because the women have to oftentimes go to work, or they help in the morning in the house. Then they run off to yeshiva. Then they come home from lunch. They pick the kids up from lunch. That's an Israeli schedule, because the kids here go to school half a day. So that's an Israeli schedule. Then the afternoon kollel, and sometimes, the kollel pays, and so that's how they make their living. Not a lot, but they make enough to get by. But kollel chatzot. That's a special kollel that they meet. They learn at night, after midnight until morning, and then they daven by the nights. And that's the special people who could do that. Not everybody could do that, but that's the Medrash tells us that David HaMelech used to be in kollel chatzot. What does that mean? It means he would wake up in the middle of the night, and he would daven to Hashem. And anytime he would cry, he would collect the tears. He would collect the tears. Do you do that? If you're davening, I'm going to tell you something. If you're davening and all of a sudden you feel inspiration or pain or whatever, and you cry, take the tears and put them in your siddur. Take the tears with your finger and put them in your siddur. I have a lot of mascara in many of my old siddurim when I used to, I have, I put the siddur to my face, and sometimes if I would cry, and then the black mascara would go all over the siddur, or my lipstick would go on the siddur, right? So those tears are very precious. If you cry when you're davening, for somebody. So that's what it says. David HaMelech used to cry every night, and he would collect the tears, and then he would drink them, or he would put them in a cup. That's why it says that when Mashiach comes, we're not going to cry anymore. Macha dima mikol panim. Everything, all the tears are going to be dried up from our faces. I told you last week, and I'll say it to you again. One of my teachers used to say, one of her prayers that she made up. She said, Hashem, aren't you tired of this exile? Aren't you tired of it? Like, isn't it boring? Don't you want to get us to the next level of humanity when Mashiach comes? And I'll tell you the truth, I sort of said the same thing yesterday. There's something that's going on here in Eretz Israel, something, silly and whatever. There's all kinds of and I have my Alan Silver news that I tell you about. That's how I read the news in this what's it called? A WhatsApp he sends, the kosher news. I mean, kosher meaning he tells the news, but without anyway. So I look at the news, and every once in a while, because it's on WhatsApp, you have to clear the chat, because otherwise it takes up so much memory in your phone. And I looked at the news yesterday, and I said, it's all like shooting in the north here in Israel, shooting in the north, shooting in Gaza, shooting in the west, in the east, and Trump gives planes to Saudi Arabia, and Turkey saying this, and Qatar saying that. And I just erased the whole thing. I said, why do you want that, Hashem? Why do you want that to be in your world? What do we need this for? It's such a waste of energy. It's so silly. It's such a waste of life. Everything in Ukraine and Russia, there's so much war in the world. Why in the world do people spend their whole life fighting wars? Like, let's just live in peace and everybody be nice to each other. But we don't until we do. So Ashashan, so Yagati Ba'anchati, I'm exhausted from this whole exile. Next pasuk, Ashashani Kas Einai, and my eyes are so upset. Now the word kas here doesn't mean anger so much as upset. I'm so upset that I'm always crying, and my eyes are soft. And you know that he was David Melchus from Leah Imenu, and Leah Imenu's eyes were soft and tender, because she was so much davening and crying that she shouldn't have to marry Esav in this week's parsha. And that's who David Melch comes to me. He says, my eyes are so tired, exhausted from crying so much. And atik. Atik means old. Atik means old. In Hebrew, in Israeli Hebrew, vatik. A vatik means a senior citizen. A vatika. After the age of 60, you get a special bus ticket that gives you half price here in Eretz Israel. It pays to make Aliyah, because after a certain age, you get half price on the bus. So that's called a vatika, an atika. Atik also. Atik is like antique. It's the same in English. It's a similar word for that. It means old. I became old. My eyes became old because of all the people who are suffering and causing me suffering, and my enemies. I feel old. Do you ever feel old? Yeah, you ever feel old? Do you ever feel like it's just too much already? And you look in the mirror and you say, where do those lines come from? You see, on this computer, I told you when I first entered Zoom, you could do this also. When Zoom first began, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when already was Corona, I forgot already. So, and we all went on Zoom. So I remember when I had to download Zoom on all of my devices here. So Zoom asks you in the beginning, you could even look at it. Well, you just use the link, but I had to download it because I use it as a teaching device. So Zoom, when you download it, it asks you if you want to have enhanced appearance. So I checked all the boxes. Yes, 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 yes. So if you don't see the lines, it's because I checked enhanced appearance on Zoom and on YouTube. I didn't find it, but whatever. If I sit far away from the camera, you don't see all the lines. So, but you know how it is when people go through suffering. There's another gray hair, there's another line, there's another. David Melch said about himself that his eyes are tired from crying and his face is tired and he feels old because of his tormentors, because of the people who are for no reason at all. They're just jealous of David Melch, and they are making up stories about David Melch. David Melch had this in his life. Could you imagine? Now, you should understand this. Tzaddikim go through this. Rabbi Nachman told us. Rabbi Nachman himself went through this. Rabbi Nachman says, did I freeze? No. Did I freeze? No. Rabbi Nachman says that every tzaddik who's a real tzaddik goes through opposition. He has to have enemies. And Rabbi Nachman says, David HaMelech showed us that. Why? Because if a person is very big tzaddik, then in order for them to bring their teachings into the world, they have to go through a certain level of pain, of suffering, of difficulty. That's why Rabbi Nachman says also that it's a gift when you go through suffering. It's a gift for Hashem, because why? Hashem, again, it's hard for us to understand this, but Hashem has something called Midat Hadin. Midat Hadin, which is the attribute of justice, has to be satisfied. Hashem made that rule up. He made a rule and he said, Midat Hadin always has to be satisfied. And that means that if something good in your life has to come into your life in this world, it sometimes has to be balanced. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes it has to be balanced. And so sometimes tzaddikim who bring tremendous amount of good into the world, they have to have opposition to balance them, to give people free choice. And so David HaMelech had that. He had tremendous opposition in his life. And again, people made up stories about him because he was so gifted. He was so unusual. Remember that David HaMelech was a Balman again. He was the one who played on all the musical instruments. And he and only he was able to calm down the soul of Shaul HaMelech, who was so tormented by the fact that he had lost the Malchus. And he didn't understand why he was in such a bad mood. He didn't realize that his extra soul had been removed from him. When David HaMelech was king, was crowned in secret, so the soul of kingship went into David HaMelech, went into David. And David understood that and was able to play music to calm down the soul of Shaul, who didn't understand that. And even that's why he suspected David. And even when he suspected him, he didn't understand that Shaul was going through what he was going through, because he had lost the gift of the soul of the king. So David HaMelech went through so much tzorerai. Tzorer is like Haman was called Tzorer HaYehudim, the tormentor, the tsar, ish tsar ve'oyev, Haman HaRasha Arazah, ish an evil, the people who give tsarot, the people who give suffering and misery to another person. That's called a tzorer. And he said, David HaMelech said, I'm worn out from all of my enemies. And I'm asking Hashem, take away from me all those people who are sinners. Take away from me all the bad people in my life. All the people who are mean and nasty and jealous and competition. I don't want them in my life. Get them out of my life. And you need to say that, because every single person here has to choose who to keep in their life. Now listen, I'm talking about friends. I'm not talking about parents. There's a big deal now in the world. It's a very, very sad thing called alienation, where children decide, my parents were no good, and I'm not going to talk to them. They were all, and this is a thing that psychologists are encouraging. It's sad. They're called, and I deal with this all the time with my students. They'll always tell me about their parents and how they're not so selfish, and they'll use the new fancy word narcissistic and the new word abusive and all of those things. They're just parents trying to do the best that they can under the circumstances that they have. But sadly, because the evil of this world wants to break up families, because the family unit is the primary unit of life in this world. And so you have the Smolenim, the leftists, and the people who are Erev Rav, and people who are not good, and people who are the agents of the Erev Rav and the not good people, are making all kinds of programs and attitudes to break up families. And one of them is this whole thing of alienation, that kids won't talk to parents. Then there's another thing of, are you a boy or are you a girl? You could be everything, you could be nothing, you could be an elephant, and And should you marry, should you not marry? One of my students told me that in America now, in the secular world that she was growing up in, nobody gets married. They just live together. And sometimes they have kids together, but they share the expenses. They don't make the commitment of marriage because why? It's too complicated to get married and to, have all of that. So it's much easier to just, you know, enjoy each other when you like to each other, and then, if you don't want to anymore, there's no family. And all the divorces that are happening, and all of these things are trying to break up the family unit. And so David Melech says, go away from me, all those people who are evil, not your family. I'm not including family. Your family you can't say goodbye to, unless God forbid you were physically, sexually abused by a parent. That's probably the only time when it's scary to be around that parent. And I know families who have that, and those families will tell them, yes, the kids have to be disconnected from the parents. And the parents never are not well. But other than that, don't disconnect, don't alienate your parents. They're humans. They try to do for you the best that they could. And before you had a brain, before you were smart enough to start blaming them, they were up all night with you, and they changed your dirty diapers, and they fed you, and they took you to the doctor, and they worried about you, and they did everything for you. So stop alienating them. Stop pushing them away. Everybody, this is a message to all kids in the world. I'm telling you, I deal with this all day long when kids come to talk to me. And I ask them about their family life or whatever. There's always this thing. Very few people come and say, I have a great relationship with my family. They're always blaming their parents, blaming their mother's neurotic, their father's masochistic, narcissistic. They have all these new words. I had to look that up, by the way. First time I heard the word narcissistic, I didn't know what it meant. And then there's many different definitions of it. Now, it used to be that it had one definition. Now they changed the definition so that every parent could be called narcissistic. So don't push those people away. But all the people in your life who are actually not good for you, you can reevaluate. And David Melech had enemies who were trying to kill him. Anybody's trying to kill you, get them out of your life. Anybody who's trying to cheat from you, who's trying to, you understand what I'm saying? So David Melech is saying, go away from me, all you evil people. Because Hashem hears my voice. Hashem is hearing me crying, and Hashem is going to punish you. If you still hang around with me and you try to hurt me, Hashem is listening. I'm positive that Hashem is listening, that God is listening to my prayers and to my crying and to my pain. I'm positive God is listening to my pain, and you better get away from me because I'm crying because of you. And again, we're not talking about family. We're talking about people who are consciously and for no constructive purpose. David HaMelech had enemies that for no constructive purpose tried to bring him down. You know why? Because they wanted the power. They wanted to be in charge. They wanted to run the country and have the prestige and have the whatever. They were jealous, and they wouldn't admit that to themselves. Very few people, very, very few people admit that they're jealous. If you admit that you're jealous of somebody, that's a very high level already. Don't feel bad that you're jealous. If you could admit it and say, yeah, I'm jealous of that person. Listen, my name is Rachel. And Rachel Imenu says in the Torah, Rachel Imenu was jealous of Leah. Right? It says that word kin'ah. Only by Rachel Imenu says. Now, what was she jealous of Leah Imenu? She was jealous because Leah Imenu was having babies after babies, and Rachel Imenu wanted to give Yaakov Avinu a child, a son. So jealousy is something that you have to be very aware of and admit. If it's jealousy, if it's called kin'at sofrim, there's a concept in the Torah called kin'at sofrim. Kin'at sofrim means what Rachel Imenu had. Not necessarily what this Rachel has, but what Rachel Imenu had. She had jealousy because she wanted to be as holy as Leah. So that's a good jealousy. If the jealousy pushes you to be better, if the jealousy pushes you to do more, if the jealousy pushes you to be holier and more generous and nicer, good, that's a good jealousy. But if the jealousy eats you up and tries to make you push down the other person, bad, bad, bad. And that's what David Melech is saying. You guys better go away from me, all you Polei Avin. because Kishama Hashem Kol Bichi. Now I'm going to tell you something about Tehillim, because we're learning Tehillim already, Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem, for many years. And I like to give you the klalim. I like to give you the rules of Tehillim, so that when you learn the Tehillim on your own, you can recognize certain patterns. David HaMelech, most of the Tehillim, except for one parak in the whole entire Tehillim, in the whole book of Tehillim, except for one parak, which is parak Peichet 88, except for that one parak, every Tehillim that he cries in, the end of the chapter is always upbeat. It's going to be okay. Hashem loves me. It's always positive. Every Tehillim. So here you see that David Melech was crying. He's telling us a few minutes ago, I'm crying. And he has a lot of reasons to cry. And everybody who's listening to this class has a lot of reasons to cry. We all have reasons to cry. Like King David, we're in the same boat as him. And Baruch Hashem, we're not crying all the time. And we're getting on with our life and we're accomplishing. But everybody has something in their life. Agreed? So we all have to check, in the end, say the same thing that King David says. And that is, Shema Hashem Tchinati. Hashem hears my prayers. Hashem Tfilati Yikach. Hashem will accept my prayers. In the end, we have to say, Hashem, I know you're listening. I mean, we all say that. We all say, Hashem, I know you're listening. The question is how you're answering me. But God is listening to every single word that you say. Every word that we say, Hashem is listening to. Every word of prayer, every word of complaint. It's okay. You can be real with God. In fact, you have to be real with God. With everybody else, you can be PC, politically correct. But with Hashem, you have to be real. Because if you're not real with God, anyway, he knows everything. Ki Shama Hashem Kol Bichi. Hashem has heard the sound of my crying. Shama Hashem Tchinati. Hashem has heard my praying, my bakasha, my begging him. Hashem Tfilati Kach. And Hashem is receiving my prayer. You see that even though it's two psukim, but it's all the same idea. And therefore, Yevoshu Yibalu Ma'od Kol Oivai. Every one of my enemies should be utterly and totally humiliated and embarrassed for being an enemy for no reason. Yashuvu Yevoshu Raga. And they should do teshuvah, and they should be embarrassed. They should be ashamed. All my enemies, they're going to come back and they're going to be very ashamed. Now, this interesting thing about Yashuvu Yevoshu Raga means like this. It's interesting because it says that at the end of time, Yashuvu, all the enemies of the Jewish people are going to come back. At the end of time, when Mashiach comes, all the enemies that ever plagued us, all the bad people, everybody, Nebuchadnezzar, Haman, Achashverosh, maybe even Yimach Shemo Hitler, are going to come back at the end of time, and they're going to receive their final knockout. Hashem will judge them in front of all the peoples of the world. It's not enough that they're in Gehenna, that they're suffering in the place of suffering, but they're going to come back in a body, and Hashem will show the whole world their final downfall. That's Yashuvu, they're going to come back. And Yevoshu Raga, they're going to be instantaneously humiliated because the whole world will see their evil. And then they'll be demolished from eternally. So we have to understand something. And I'm talking about not just, listen, observant Jews. If you're Jewish, you have to be observant. You have to keep the mitzvah. But even people, who are not yet observant Jews. But they're Jews, but they have to be good. You have to be good. And the non-Jewish people who listen to this also, forgive me for making a distinction. I'm not really forgive me, but everybody should know that there's teams now in planet Earth. And they're very interesting teams. You remember when you when you were in high school, you had color, or when in camp, you had color war. You know, the blue team, the red team. Did you have that? Do you have that in the UK? And all the different, whatever you call it. Everybody calls it different things. We used to call it color war because it was a color. Like you got a color, like your team blue or your team red, and that was the color that you got. And then they made all kinds of other names for it. And it was a competition, school-wide competition, and there were two teams. And one team won, and the other team didn't win. So nowadays in planet Earth, there are two teams. Even though there are many, many nations and many languages and many cultures, but there's two teams. And this is how I look at things. And Hashem is allowing you to choose what team you want to be on. The team of good or the team of bad? The team of good thinks and knows that they're good. The team of bad thinks that they're good. Or the team of bad knows that they're bad, but chooses bad because they feel that bad is more powerful. So you have to choose. Are you team good or are you team bad? Now, you could be on team bad and be wearing religious clothing. That's a scary part. And you could be on team good and not be really recognizable the way you look. It's not about the outward at all. It's about the inward. It's about, is your heart striving for goodness and for closeness to God? And how much anger and hatred do you have in your heart? For the amount of anger and hatred and competition that you have in your heart, we have to get rid of that. Because team good, to get on team good and to choose to be on team good, we have to eradicate. You're allowed to hate evil. That's all you're allowed to hate. You know that there's a concept called Sinat Chinam and Ahavat Chinam. Sinat Chinam, the Talmud says that the second temple was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam, baseless hatred. And the third temple will be rebuilt because of Ahavat Chinam, baseless love. Now, what does that mean, baseless hatred? Or hatred for no reason? And what does it mean, love for no reason? So I'm going to tell you the love for no reason first, because it's easier to understand. Love for no reason means there's nothing good about you that I look at. I'm looking at you and I don't find anything in your life and your personality that I love. But I'm going to love you anyway because God says there's a mitzvah to love every single Jew. And on a certain level, for all mankind to love each other. But what does it mean, love? It doesn't mean the emotion that we conjure up when we talk about, love and romance. It's not that emotion. Love means a halachic love, the halachic status of love. And it means, the Rabbi Akiva explains to us, it means don't do to the other person what you don't want them to do to you. If you don't like something, a certain type of behavior, then don't behave that way to the other person. That's called ahava. That's the halachic definition of love. Because again, it's hard to explain to somebody, or it's hard to command someone to emote. What if the emotion is not there? What if a person is just not emotional? There are some people, they have a lot of the earth level in them. They just don't have emotion. It's not that they're bad people. They're good people, but they're not emotional. They're not sentimental. They're not like that. So how can you tell them to love somebody? But they can understand the concept of treat another person as you want to be treated. That's called v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Treat somebody else as you would like to be treated. And because it says kamocha, that means, and reyacha. So for a Jew, it means we have to love every single Jew. And for a non-Jew, it means we have to love every single non-Jew. A non-Jew has to love each other. They have to treat each other with respect. And really, Jews have to treat non-Jews with respect, and non-Jews have to treat Jews with respect. It's a universal rule. In fact, it says that is the universal rule of the Torah, right? Remember Hillel and Shammai? Hillel told the potential convert, he said, when the potential convert says, teach me the whole Torah, quick, while I'm standing on one foot. And Hillel said these words, what's do to somebody else what you want them to do to you. Don't do to somebody else what you don't want them to do to you. And you might say, how can that be the whole Torah? We have halachas. What does it have to do with making a bracha before you eat? Not eating a treif. Like Hillel said, the whole Torah can be founded on that, can be based on that. Rabbi Akiva said the same thing. And that's the one mitzvah that we're not so good at. I mean, you ladies are perfect in it. You're good. You love each other. You're good for each other. You do chesed to each other. But we have to, that's our thing now. So ahavat chinam means, even though I don't naturally love you, but Hashem says I should treat you with respect, I'm going to. And sinat chinam means hatred, baseless hatred means, I don't like you. Why don't I like you? There's not really a reason. I just don't like you. I'm just annoyed with you. And that's called baseless hatred. There's no reason. If somebody hurts you, you understand why a person could dislike. But if nobody, they didn't do anything to you. Like, people who are good and try to do good, like David HaMelech, like the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, like Rabbi Nachman HaKadosh, all these tzaddikim, people couldn't handle their goodness. So and they opposed them, and they pursued them, and they said lashon hara about them, and it's so silly to do that. It's so pointless to do that. In the end, the good guys always win. So be on the good team, because now Hashem is sizing up the teams and deciding what, there's teams now. And you can see in the world how people are gravitating or to good or to not good. Thank you, Mamish. Thank you, Geraldine. You should always good. And so, thank you to all the people who are writing me notes. I can't really read them, and I'm learning. So, Yevoshu Yibalno Kol Oivai. David HaMelech is saying, I know that in the end, good will win. Now, we don't know when the end is. That's the problem with us, is that we don't know when's the end. We hope the end is now. Really, we hope the end is now. So many tzaddikim say the end is now. And that things are happening very quickly in the world. There's ups and downs and ups and downs. Right? One day we're in a good place, the next day we're in a scary place, the next day in a good place again. Yeah, they said today, I'll tell this to Rabbi Sadov, they said today, Hezbollah decided in Syria, now that Gaza is quiet, now that Gaza is quiet, so Hezbollah said, they're not putting down their weapons, right? They're supposed to put down they're not going to put down their weapons. And so we got a notice today that there might be rockets, they're going to start shooting rockets at us again, just when it was quiet for a while. Yeah, they're going to send rockets, they're threatening. And then somebody else said, now Iran is threatening. So we had all this, like, it's enough already. So in the end, Yevoshu Yibalu Ma'od. Now listen, Yevoshu means to be embarrassed. Yibalu Behala means to be overwhelmed, to be like confused. Evil's going to be confused in the end. Why? Because they're going to realize how they wasted their life. And again, it doesn't mean your uniform, of how you dress. It means your heart. So right this second, all of us are saying, Hashem, I want to be on the good team. I want you to heal me and cure me and purify me and love me. And I want to love you and I want to be good, good, good. Please, Hashem, I only want to be good to all Jews. I want to be good to my family. I want to be good to everybody. And the people who annoy me, help me to not be so annoyed with them. And if I am annoyed with them, let me at least admit that it's because I haven't fixed my midah, my character traits. Because listen, if you have kids, right, or you have siblings, we all get annoyed with our siblings, but the bottom line is that we'll do anything for our siblings or for our kids. We get annoyed with them. That's human nature. We're all very, very different. We get annoyed with people. So I'm admitting to you, Hashem, I get annoyed easily. But in the end, you meet people like my Rav Yanuka. I hope he should soon be your Rav also. You can't imagine the midot that this man has. People, he does everything for everybody. And then people hashmutz him and they make all kinds of rumors about him. They can't believe that he's so nice, and he's so nice, and he's so good, and he blesses everyone. You're welcome, Naomi. He's there for everyone, including the lady who's Nebuch burying her son from your community. He heard the story, and he right away said, "What can I do for you? Do you need help with the burial? Do you need help getting him a place?" He was just going to stop everything and get this kid buried. And she said, they did that already. And she needs a bracha that the body should be released and he can have burial, soon, as soon as possible. And then he told her she should know me. By the way, I hope Rabbi Sandov hears this, and not he'll tell her later. I should remember to tell her later. The Rav said to tell this woman, because she's a little bit out of it, because listen, she just lost a son, Lalalena. He said she should smell besamim. We have to teach her how to make the brachot on the besamim, on the herbs, right, on the 5 brachot that you can make. Really, there's 4. There's really 5, but the 5th one is hard for you to find the right thing to make the bracha on. But she has to inhale fragrances so that she can calm down a little bit and she can deal with this. And then he said, if she needs help dealing with this, the boy just didn't wake up in the morning. It's a young boy, and I think she might be a single mother, and all the suffering. The other day, I don't know if you saw this. I think I maybe even told you this last week. A little girl came. She looked at. Did I tell you this about this girl who? Yeah, I told you. So I don't know if you, but Masha, sorry, you heard it, but maybe not this year. But anyway,
well, you put it on your status. It's amazing. You put it on. Right. It's amazing.
So everybody should look at my status, how you say it, on my WhatsApp. Do you all have my WhatsApp number, by the way? Does everybody have my WhatsApp? Everybody ask Masha, sorry, because I can't say it on the phone. Can you send it out to this group? Okay, so yeah, you have my number.
I can send it to Joanne. I'll send it to Joanne. And she'll send it. I don't have everyone's number.
She has my number. No, she has my number. So tell her to send it on my WhatsApp, so you can all get on all the different groups that I'm on. So you have tzaddikim who do everything for everybody, and people can't believe how patient they are and how good midot. Even the Rabbanit, his wife, she should be blessed and be well. Her midot, you can't believe that this woman has no anger in her, no annoyance. She's not annoyed with anybody. I once said to her, "Do you get annoyed?" Because people nudge her a lot. And she said, "I just don't." And she's very pure. She said, "They're all such good neshamas. They're all beautiful neshamas." Like people who see souls do not see personalities. The personality is what gets us annoyed. The soul is something unusual. So we all have to pray to Hashem that we can see the or, see the soul of every Jew. When we can begin to see the soul of every Jew instead of the personality, then it's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different. I don't see souls yet either. I'm praying the same thing that you're praying. We should see only the souls of the person and concentrate. Look for it. Maybe we don't see it naturally, but look for the soul of every single person, because it's our job to try to treat every Jew with kavod. It's Hashem's job to try to fix every Jew. It's our job to try to do ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. It's our job to try to be b'simcha. Why? Only because God tells us to, not because our circumstances are necessarily so perfect, but to be calm, to be happy, to be grateful. That's our job. Why? Only because God says to. It's the same thing. I don't know if I told you this. I don't think I did. No, I didn't, because it happened this week. I had a meeting, interestingly enough, with a Zionist, with a pure secular Zionist. But she's a Baal Shuva, so she's coming back to Judaism. She wanted to talk to me. So I said, you know what? After we talked, I said, you know what? I always wanted to talk to somebody like you. Tell me, why do you think that the Jewish people have a right to the land of Israel? If you don't believe in people who don't believe in God and don't believe in the Torah, why are we here? Like, what I know, I believe that we're here because God gave it to us. But if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the Torah, so what's the Jewish right to the land of Israel? Because the UN gave it to us because they felt bad for us after World War II? If that's the case, that the UN gave us the land of Israel, then they can take it away from us. And if they felt bad for us after World War II, now they're accusing us of being chas v'shalom, evil people, genocidists, or whatever those silly words are. And she had no answer. She said, that's why I'm here. to understand why we own this land, because it doesn't make sense to have in the secular Zionist world. It doesn't. The land of Israel, they'll talk about culture and about history and about, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't, just because we had this land thousands of years ago doesn't make it. The Native American Indians had America way before the Americans and the Europeans came, and America had no problem with that and taking it from them and taking it away from them. So understand why we're here. In the end, we have to be on the good team. In the end, we have to be pure inside, and we have to ask Hashem to help us to be good inside. Let me say hi to everybody. Don't go off. And you can put your faces on. It makes me happy when I see you. Hi, Emma Rose. And hi, Revis and Dov again. And hi, Masha Sarah. And hi, Nomi. You don't have to smile. I'm not taking pictures of you. And hi, Pauline. And hi, Shulamit. It's good to see you here in Eretz Israel. I can recognize. Yeah? Yeah? Because you're not wearing the UK clothes. You're wearing what we're going through a nice warm.
I'm in Yerushalayim, yes. I've been in Yerushalayim now since Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, man. Right. You keep telling me that, and I keep forgetting. Hi, Yehudit Batya. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Katie. Everything went up. See, they all jumped off because they're afraid of me. Hi, Rebecca. And hi, Sharon. Hi, Shulamit again. Hi, Yehudit Batya. And hi, everybody who was on the Zoom class. I know it's late. Sorry, I kept you late. And hi, all the people on YouTube. You should all have a good Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Safe, healthy, good team good, team God, team good. And it's not about religion. It's about being good inside, stopping all the anger, letting go. God, Hashem should help us to be good. Have a good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and have a good Shabbos. And people in the UK and people on Zoom.